Okay, next we'll talk about the solar panel mount. Okay, there's a lot of words in the instruction manual to describe all these steps to attach and mount the solar panel, but it's really not that difficult. There aren't that many attachments to make. We'll need a few different brackets, okay? So first of all, we'll need the solar panel itself. We see that here. Okay, it comes with this red wire, okay, that I've had you extend by splitting it out and soldering it onto an extension cable. So we have that here coming down. Okay, mine happens to be gray for the cable that I use. Now that runs into the back of the electronics melting box over here, okay, through the bottom open hole. Okay, and the solar panel itself comes with some screws that you can mount to. So there's a screw, one at each corner. These are fairly small. These are 440 screws. Okay, but they do seem to hold on fairly well. Also, you should have ordered separately this angled bracket here. Okay, so that's this angled bracket that extends up over to here. Okay, and that's at this ideal angle to gather maximum amount of light as an average throughout the day. Okay, so that's that angle there, angled bracket over there. Okay, that's from the same manufacturer as the solar panel. And then we have this right angle bracket here, which you can just get from Home Depot. Okay, it's a fairly standard galvanized mounting bracket. Okay, so the mounting bracket feeds into this top bracket that I have here for my particular system. If you have a different mounting scenario at your location where you're deploying this, then you may need to adjust some of these steps and sort of figure out the best way to attach all this. Okay, but certainly this 90-degree bracket going to the angled bracket for the solar panel, this all works just fine. Okay, as a system here. All the attachments are made for these two brackets together with 1/4-20 bolts. Okay, so these are both 1/4-20. Okay, stainless steel. You want everything to be stainless steel or galvanized so that it doesn't rust since it'll be outside. So I have two on the top and then two over here. That's sufficient to hold it all in place. Okay, and then I have washers, galvanized washers, stainless steel nuts on the back to secure it. Okay, so I've done that here. So as we can see, done that over here in this far hole, and then over here, that's for the 90-degree bracket going into the angled bracket. And then on the top, if you use the same parts that I have in the manual, then you'll have the outer hole and the center hole. Okay, in the outer hole, you can see it's reciprocal over here on this side. This bracket here, this plastic bracket, it just slides over the top part of my tripod. Okay, so that just slides on, and then you secure it by tightening the hand screw. Okay, and otherwise, the bracket itself, you'll see, has a hole on either corner and then a slot in the middle. Okay, so you're just feeding the 1/4-20 screw bolt through this hole here and securing it with the washer and the nut underneath, and then I did the same thing with the center slot over here. Okay, and that's basically all there is as far as mounting the solar panel to the system. Okay, so you're basically attaching two nuts. These are the small nuts that come with the bracket and the solar panel on the corners. Okay, and these are designed to go together, so that should all fit fairly well. Okay, and then we're attaching the bracket with all these different slot options here. So we do that on the front. You can do it multiple different ways. Okay, but the way that I did it was to have it go through the left and rightmost bottom slots. Okay, so you can see how those feed in just there. Okay, and as long as they're that tight enough, it will all secure and hold itself fairly well. I've had this deployed in very windy conditions, and it's been fine. Okay, so that's the solar panel mounting. Okay, so to mount the anemometer and the radiation shield and the temperature sensor, we have everything on the right side of the mounting bracket for the top of my tripod as we see it here. Okay, so the solar panel mounting is all on the left of this top bracket. Okay, and the right holes on this bracket over here, this black bracket, are going to support this L bracket, okay, which is associated with the radiation shield. Okay, and then we have the anemometer on top of that. Okay, so there are multiple ways of doing this, of mounting this all together. Okay, but this configuration certainly works fine. So we have the anemometer over here. Okay, its cable is sent through this cable here, and again, like everything else that goes into the electronics box, that goes in through the bottom of the box over here with this open hole. Okay, that always faces down, so we don't get any rain through there. That's the only opening into the box. Okay. And then the other thing that goes into the box is our temperature sensor here. Now the radiation shield, the whole idea here is so we're sensitive to the air temperature and not to direct radiation from the sun, okay, which will affect the readings there. So that gets inserted through one of these slats, okay, and ultimately we can't see it, but it's inside the radiation shield here. So we have enough airflow through these slats, so we have an accurate temperature measurement. Okay, and again, that also goes through the bottom of our electronics box over here. Okay, the way that we secure all these things, we'll start first with the anemometer. The anemometer has several open holes at its bottom. Okay, for this bottom mount over here, a circular mount, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it doesn't really matter which of the 4 that you use, but you want to use 2 of these. And I've inserted two bolts going down through, and those go through this right angle bracket over here. Again, I just bought that from Home Depot. That's a galvanized steel bracket. Okay, you can see it from that side. And to make sure that everything works fine with the clearances and everything that we have for all these different holes that we insert it through, I've got a washer on the top and the bottom. You can see it from the bottom there as well. Okay, and then a nut to secure it on the bottom. Okay, so that's how I attach the anemometer to the bracket. This red angle bracket now attaches to the white bracket in a similar fashion. Okay, so we've got those 2 bolts going through. There are 4 holes in this particular L bracket that I can use on my vertical surface. So I've chosen the bottom 2, so the whole thing is more or less flush with the top. And I've got washers of various sizes, and then the nuts. Okay, so it's a little bit tricky here because all these different holes are made for different size screws or bolts. Okay, so you just want to make sure that the whole thing is securely fastened there. Okay, so I've gone through the top 2 holes. On the back side, we can see here on this white bracket we have 4 larger diameter holes, and then several smaller diameter holes. Okay, so I've used the top 2 wider diameter holes to mount this galvanized steel right angle bracket to it. Okay, so that's how I attach that. I attach the white bracket. Okay, I attach the white bracket to the tripod black mounting bracket using 1/4-20 bolts going through. Okay, so this is a very similar arrangement to how I mounted the solar panel. Okay, so it goes through a corner hole of the black mounting bracket, and then the other one goes through the center slot of the black mounting bracket. If you look underneath, we can see a little bit and get a sense of that as well. So again, you want to use galvanized or stainless steel washers and nuts so it doesn't rust away. Okay, and just make sure that it's tight enough once you secure that. Once you've secured all these 3, okay, and the order which you do it, it can vary, but you might want to do the white bracket first and mount that to the black bracket, okay, with a 1/4-20 screws, and then attach the right angle bracket on here, this galvanized steel right angle bracket, and then the anemometer to the galvanized steel bracket. Okay, so first white to black, then gray to white, then anemometer to gray. Okay, and once you've done all of that, you can then attach the radiation shield. Okay, the radiation shield is going to be fairly heavy, and it's going to make this whole thing tip if it's not secured just yet before you do the other steps. So you can do this one last, or the anemometer last, it doesn't matter too much. Okay, and the holes we're going to use to fasten the radiation shield are shown here. You can see I didn't use galvanized or stainless steel for my nuts, okay, when I first put this out. So this was out for about a year, and you can see the difference between galvanized or stainless and then just the zinc. Okay, so it's best to use something that will be rust proof. Okay, but the 3 holes that I used are going to be the 2 in the corners over here and the one that's closest to the center. Okay, and again, I've used washers and nuts to secure those. And those come as just part of this overall package for the radiation shield. So we have these standoffs here that create some separation distance. Okay, and they pass up through and you have to secure them as you have over there. We're taking advantage of these long optional rods. Okay, so these are all threaded rods that extend down, and normally the radiation shield comes with 3 shorter rods. Okay, but I've replaced 2 of them with these longer ones from a separate supplier. Okay, I've done that so that we have a way of mounting our electronics enclosure. So I'll show you how we do that in the next step. Okay, so to prepare our electronics enclosure box, we are using a standard electrical outdoor outlet box. Okay, so this is what you find normally attached to the outside of a building if you need to get electrical power. Okay, so you can buy this at Home Depot and Lowe's and any sort of home improvement store. Okay, and we have 2 parts to it. We have this metal box here, okay, and we have this plastic part that basically mounts to the metal box. There's usually a foam insert between the 2 to help with the waterproofing. Then we have this plastic hinged enclosure on the top that closes down. Okay, the metal box itself comes with multiple ports. Okay, and we're going to leave one of them open. We have to leave this bottom one open because we have to allow both for our cables and our wires to pass through. Okay, but also we have to allow a little bit of circulation so we can equilibrate the pressure. We can be sensitive to the atmospheric pressure and humidity as well. Okay, so we're going to leave this port open. Okay, and then I have silicone close the other ports that you can use in the box. So there's one here and there's one on the back side as well. Okay, so I've used outdoor silicone to help weatherproof that. We don't want any water entering this box. Okay. The way that we mount this whole thing is with these 2 tabs on the bottom. Okay, there's a tab over here and a tab over here. These come with the metal box. Okay, and you just attach those using a screwdriver and a screw there and there. So the way that I found best to mount this whole system is to do it on the same side here, on this long side. Okay, and eventually these 2 holes that are still open here are what are going to attach the whole thing to our system. Okay, and we're going to suspend it through those mounting tabs with these 2 threaded rods here. Okay, and they hang down from a radiation shield. So I'll show you how we mount that later on. Okay, but the most important thing is that we do weatherproof all of these possible locations on the box where water might get inside. So it's a bit ironic that we need to protect our weather station from the weather, but that's certainly important for where we have these electronics. Okay, so so make sure that you do silicone closed all those different ports. This tab here can come out if you want to pass your standard electrical power cable from this box if you're using it for its normal use, but we're not doing that, so we need to make sure that that is waterproof there. Okay, and I've done that all the way around for everywhere we have those possible locations where water can get in. Okay, so I've done that in advance before mounting anything inside here. Okay, and now I've finally mounted the electronics enclosure to the whole system. Okay, and the way we do this is again through these threaded rods here and these metal tabs that attach to the bottom of our electronics enclosure box. Okay, I've got 2 of those connections. Okay, so one over there and one over there. Okay, and basically what this allows the system to do is to be under the radiation shield. Okay, so it has a little bit of shielding that's not quite important because we're not measuring temperature inside this box for use for later. Okay, but it does allow for air to pass in, to circulate into the system through that bottom hole. Okay, so it allows the system to be sensitive to the pressure and to a certain extent the humidity as well. Okay, and then at this angle here, because we've waterproofed all the other connections, we don't get any water inside the system. Okay, so water won't get in under here. And in fact, what I will do when I go ahead and deploy this is I will move this up even further. So the way that I secure it is with two nuts. We have one on top, one below. Okay, so that keeps it at the same relative position. I have a washer in here as well. That's not quite so important because it's not a very tight connection here, but I've got it in there nonetheless. We have the same thing on the other threaded rod back over here. Okay, so those two basically clamp it together and allow it to be secured. And because we have a hinge here, we can open up this whole box if we wanted to. We can adjust the height via the nuts if we need to lower this down and access any of the electronics. Okay, but once you deploy it, it's a good idea to have this as far up to the radiation shield as possible. Fortunately, with all the electronics we have, it's not possible to insert this inside the radiation shield. There is an opening there, but we have too much to work with to get it inside. Okay, but this arrangement will keep it waterproof, and then we can take the whole thing and deploy it as our whole system now is finally assembled.